Developing your USP. Guys, this is important. It's part of the foundational communication requirement that's going to drive how your clients perceive you. So please do not skip over this step. First of all, what is a USP? It is a unique selling proposition. So what's the difference between a USP and elevator pitch? Well, you can stop screaming at your screen. I'm going to answer that right now. Your elevator pitch is your 20-second. So what do you do? Answer to that question. Okay. So that elevator pitch includes a statement to pique greater interest. Now, your USP is a statement that answers why the clients should hire you. Some examples, so you can get a feel for what a USP is. I try to use examples from companies that you have heard of before. Domino's Pizza, their USP is fresh hot pizza delivered to your door in 30 minutes or less, or it's free. FedEx, when it absolutely positively has to be there overnight. Are you unclear as to what these companies do after reading those two statements? How about this one? M&M's, the milk chocolate melts in your mouth, not in your hand. Okay, that is a promise that their M&M's will not melt in your hand. De Beers, a diamond is forever. Tom's Shoes, a one-for-one company. Now that one's a little bit obscure, but it's very true if you know about Tom's Shoes. What do? You may not know. Tom's Shoes is famous for every time they sell a pair of shoes, they actually donate a pair of shoes. So one for one. So that's their unique selling proposition. That's what makes them different. Okay. Now, what a USP is not. First of all, a USP shouldn't contain any general benefits that are standard within your industry. So an example would be, I'm the best Photoshop designer on the planet. Boring. Okay, that doesn't say garbage because anybody can just claim they're the best Photoshop designer on the planet. That doesn't define you. That doesn't define a brand. That doesn't do anything. That's just a lazy USP. So the benefits of a strong USP are you become the obvious choice. It puts you in the driver's seat. So clients will be more willing to follow your procedures when they clearly understand what they will get from you. They understand your promise. And that's what a USP is. It's a promise. More benefits of a USP. It's going to lead to happier clients. Okay. A strong crystal clear USP pulls in clients better tailored to your skills. It attracts your ideal clients better. And also a strong USP pulls in new clients. Referrals come from everywhere. When you are someone worth talking about, a promise is easily remembered by your clients because you're different. That way people can talk about you more. Okay. Another benefit is it gets more bang for your marketing dollars. A strong USP is a key part of marketing that works. It pulls in more business for less cost. It also gives you a higher close ratio. A strong USP makes potential clients hire you. If you have a strong USP, you will absolutely stand out from everyone else because 99% of those out there don't have one. In fact, most companies don't even have one. Unless you start getting into like $5+ million, companies really don't spend the time or even have a desire to have one, which they should. Another benefit of a strong USP, less prospecting. When your marketing works, there's less need for you to chase prospects around. They'll remember you, believe me. Higher prices. Basically, the bottom line is a strong USP reduces the client's perceived risk. And when you can reduce the client's perceived risk, that makes the low price less important. So USP requirements. Number one, it should be a promise. I've already mentioned that. I just want that in your head. I'm going to mention it several more times too before the end of this class. The USP should be a promise. Also, it should be unique. Now, it doesn't have to be truly unique. You don't have to think of something that the billions of other people on this planet haven't thought of before. It just has to be unique to your ideal client. Okay, we're going to go through some examples. Here's one. I got this from a website called flauntmydesign.com. So Ian Paget, he owns Logo Geek. It's a company, a design company that obviously that designs logos. That's all they do is they design logos. Ian has clearly picked his niche. But logo design alone isn't a USP, it's a niche. there are plenty of talented graphic designers out there who claim to specialize in logo designers. If you go to Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com, and type in logo designs, you'll get hundreds of results, probably even thousands. Okay, so that alone, being quote unquote a logo designer or the best logo designer on the planet, isn't a USP. Ian had to think to himself, now why would I get hired over any other logo designer? Well, he said in a podcast, he only works with one logo project at a time. The client he is currently working with gets his full attention. He never works on several projects simultaneously. And personally, I've never heard of any designer claiming that before. It's pretty interesting. So Ian's USP is, you get my undivided attention. It's pretty brilliant. USP requirements. We mentioned it should be a promise. We mentioned it should be unique. It's also a promise that's strong enough to pull in new clients. Just because it's a promise doesn't mean it's a promise to pull in new clients. Here's an example. There's a company called Reliable PSD. And if you look on the right of the screen over here, you'll see Lou Levitt, co-founder. She had said that our USP is that we're a design team ourselves. So we really know what designers need. We've revamped the PSDs to code process to ensure that they get accuracy and care they're really looking for. So if you don't understand the process, a lot of people will design a website. They'll start with a Photoshop, which is a PSD file. And then they take that Photoshop file and they chop it up and they code every single aspect of it and they turn it into a web page. That's one way to create a custom web page. Okay, so this is what they do basically. They chop up Photoshop files and they make code out of it. Okay. Now, a lot of conversion services like this, they tout claims of accuracy and speed and whatnot. So what really makes and she's saying this now, so what really makes us unique is that, like our customers, we also run a creative agency. So they don't just chop up the code, they also do the creative aspect too. So they're telling their clients, hey, you don't have to come to the table with creativity. We'll get that. And then once we got that creativity, we'll chop it up for you and we'll make it into a nice website for you. Reliable PSD does PSD to HTML. PSD is basically Photoshop. They're a conversion service. So their USP is, hey, it's run by designers for designers. Basically, they're saying, we promise we have a design eye for you, and we're going to deliver design elements to you, and you don't even have to worry about that part. USP brainstorming. So as you start to develop your USP, you should start brainstorming some of these elements. I broke this out for you to make this as easy as possible. So, you mentioned, I mentioned a couple, actually probably 5 or 7 different examples of USP, and they've all focused on one of these areas right here. Your USP can focus on your specialization, maybe that you're the cheapest in town or the most luxurious in town. It can focus on your high profile. You can do a USP just based on location if you want. Maybe you have a fast turnaround time. I worked with a company once and I actually hired them because of their USP. I thought it was very unique. They built landing pages in a day. That was their turnaround time USP. That was really neat. Extraordinary experience. Maybe you've worked for somebody, and this also goes with incredible work portfolio. Maybe you worked for a series of companies or one particular company you want to brag about. Maybe you bundle services together. Maybe you have some past client results that you want to throw in as a USP. Maybe you have a certain quality of service. Maybe you're like the premium brand of something, or maybe you have a really distinct style. Those are some examples that get your brain started with some brainstorming there. And so I bet you're asking, Mike, what's your USP? Well, I have a marketing agency. It's 800-pound marketing, and we're fractional CMOs. So my USP is big ideas for small businesses. And you can see where it is right here on the top of my webpage. And that's where USPs usually go. This was formed around, hey, we're a marketing strategy company, and we really focus on creating new revenue for new companies and enhancing existing revenue streams, cross-selling, upselling opportunities, stuff like that. So we come to the table with ideas. So we have big ideas for small businesses. And you see the contrast in words, big and small. That's part of making a USP a little bit clever. What I like to do is I like to just jot down ideas, even if they don't make sense. It's almost like if you're familiar with comedy writing, there's a famous saying that jokes aren't written, they're rewritten. And it's the same with USP. Like, just write down some ideas, just some random notes that come to your head, and just let it gel. Set it down for 24 hours and come back to it. And then soon you'll start to see some sentences form. And then from those sentences will come ideas. And from those ideas will come a USP. So that's my process. And if you think that simple USP that I had for my business, big ideas small businesses came easily. It did not. I had about 15 or 20 different iterations of that before it came down to those 5 simple words. And really, honestly, this is a very small USP. Don't be afraid. Your USP could be 1 or even 2 sentences. This is almost a tagline. This is really short. This is actually probably our 5th or 6th USP we've had over the years, but this is in probably your top 10% of shortness of USPs. Most USPs are much longer than this. So don't think it just has to be a few words, okay?